Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, as you can see by the screen, it's time to talk Rostermania. We're going to talk a little bit of World Cup, but honestly, today is going to be mostly focused on just Rostermania stuff because it's already dropping. I mean, probably at least 5 more people are going to be dropped in the time that we're recording this. Seems like already like 30 seconds ago, another player was announced to be going to a team or something. So I'm going to mostly spend it on that. If you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube on the audio platforms. Drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. Let's get into it. Brock, how you doing today?
Oh, doing pretty good. I'll see all the roster news. I'll just dive into it.
Yeah, it's maybe talk a little bit of World Cup before
Yep.
we jump into everything. And oh boy, the World Cup was really fun. It was an interesting event. There was a lot of like not really tech issues, but just like lag out issues because they were like technically basically playing online
hmm
because they didn't have like the CDL accounts. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. So there were a lot of like server issues, and so many games were so confusing because it'd be like 2-2 in search. They drop. They'd have to like put up the fake scoreboard and all that on there, and it was just kind of a mess to be honest in terms of that. But still, the event ended up being really fun. Like the uh the single elimination kind of led to some crazy stuff. Like it was like, oh, Optic probably could have made like a potential run in losers bracket after losing to Faze, but don't have the opportunity to, obviously, because of the fact that it's single elim. But Faze come out, look extremely, extremely dominant on the weekend. They were perfect map count heading into that bracket play. They beat Optic 3-1 after it looked like Optic was going to roll them. Optic 100-point clubbed them.
Twice,
Uh,
basically.
yeah, twice basically in the first map, and then honestly from there on, Faze handled them like with relative ease. It wasn't even really that close the next 3 maps, and then Faze went on to beat LAT in what actually was a very good final. It was 4-2, but there were a lot of close maps in there, or a lot of at least good maps, I should say, entertaining maps.
hmm
And it was a really good tournament. Shout out to Thieves; they made a great run. Faze made an awesome run. It was really fun. I guess the only thing to touch on quick before we really jump into the Rostermania stuff is what are your thoughts, I guess, Brock, on the timing of it? I don't know that it's necessarily possible because obviously the Esports World Cup is not just Call of Duty. Like the timing of it has to work for all the other esports involved as well.
hmm
Personally, I wish it was like a middle of the year event because it is a
hmm
little bit. It honestly changed the landscape of the CDL for next year because like there was talks like could Faze potentially break up,
Yep.
like could they break up, and now it's like well they once they're not breaking up, and it's like could New York break up? After champs, people were thinking no, but now with the top 8 finish and just not being able to beat Optic, people are like, well, maybe they could swap out Kismet or Skies or something, and then I don't know, Ultra bowed out really early again, so it's like now they're dropping Insight, and we know that, and it's very interesting. Like maybe Thieves are going to end up sticking together even more than they normally would have because they had a good placing at champs, but now they have a grand finals appearance at World Cup. I don't know, it's interesting how that works. I also think it's kind of weird that like somebody's crowned our world champion like Optic, and then there's another event after it where they may not win, and then people are like questioning if they deserve the championship, which I don't want
Yeah.
for any team. Whoever wins the world championship, I don't want them to like all of a sudden lose an event because I will say it didn't seem like after they lost, it didn't seem as upset as like you normally would when losing a big tournament because like they have the ring. So I don't know. It's just like it's a little bit weird. I don't like the timing of it. I just don't want our world champion ever to like lose a tournament after and be like, well, are they legit world champions? Yes. Whoever wins the world championship's legit because they won it. So I don't know. I wish it was in the middle of the year, but I understand that probably won't be able to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of the same boat as you with having it in the middle of the year than rather having it after the World Championship, like another tournament where, I mean, the winners are going to try, but I feel like they're not going to go as hard since, they did just win the World Champ like Optic did.
Yeah.
And they, like you
Oh,
said,
good.
the landscape, like you said, of like Faze, how everyone's saying, oh, they're gonna make a change, and then of course they win this tournament, so they're gonna stick together most likely.
Yeah. And like, that's not to say neither of us are saying that like Optic didn't try and like, oh, if they would have tried, they would have won. No, Phase came out, they won this, they dominated. Optic was definitely trying. Like, it was very apparent
hmm
they were getting hyped. They were definitely trying. It's just like, I don't know. You could tell like they just weren't as mad after they lost. It's like, whatever. Just because they had already won the world championship, and maybe it obviously means a lot to a team like FaZe because it's like, well, it means a lot to all of them because that prize money was no joke. You could win a very, very, very nice chunk of change
Yep.
for the prize pool to get first, second, third, and fourth. I mean, like all those places were getting a lot of money, so it obviously meant a lot because when the prize pool is that big, it's going to matter. I guess the last thing, Brock, people were questioning if this counts as a championship. This is absolutely a championship.
Yep, it is.
People were like, the thing that hurt me the most and made me feel really old, and it's going to make you feel old too, is people were saying pro-am cheese, so it doesn't count because there were amateur teams involved. And I was like, are we this far removed from the CWL that people don't know that amateur teams were involved in every tournament pre-CDL?
No, I don't want to feel old.
Like, they were involved in every tournament. Like, that's how the tournaments worked. It was team pro pools or pool play with pros, and then however many pools there were, if there were four pools, 8 pools, whatever, however many pools there were, that many challenger teams qualified from an open bracket, and then they were inserted into the pools and had a chance to make like the elimination bracket. Like, that's how tournaments work. Putting amateur teams in there doesn't make the tournament any less valid, in my opinion. In a lot of ways, it actually makes it more valid because even more teams and more competition were in there. So if you're the one to come out of a tournament including all the CDL teams and the top 4 amateur teams, to me, that's an even more impressive feat because there were more rounds and more teams.
Yep. So I agree. Absolutely a major championship.
So any fans that are trying to discredit Faze for winning, that needs to stop. This is absolutely a major championship. Everybody was trying very hard in this tournament, and Faze deserved it, and it certainly counts as a championship. It's an interesting way because, like, if the World Cup does go on for the next 10 plus years or whatever, it'll be interesting to see how much people weigh it, depending on, like, maybe if it does get moved around for the time of year and everything. It'll just be interesting to see how people weigh it, because obviously, like, that was a debate too. Does it count as much as champs? Does it count as like a major? Is it maybe less than a major? I definitely don't think it counts as much as champs. Yeah, that's for sure. You know, single elimination, the online, like the format of it, there was a lot of like kind of cheese involved with it. But I would say I feel like it counts on the level of like a major win. It's a major win for sure.
Yeah. One last thing I had was just thinking about in my head was if they're gonna do it like around like this time, like this past weekend they did, like August, why can't we just move champs back and have that tournament before and then champs?
I thought about that too. I think that's a really good idea. I guess the only thing that would have to be is like they would have to work out the dates and like this season to push it back, because like we wouldn't have won, like if we had like Major 4 ended what in like the end of June, like early July, right?
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have wanted to wait a month and a half to World Cup and then wait again for champs. We wouldn't want that month and a half break between Major 4 and then Esports World Cup, and then if Esports World Cup, and then like let's say 2 weeks later was champs, that would give us 2 months from Major 4 to champs. We definitely wouldn't want that.
Yeah,
we don't want like just absolutely kill the momentum, and like, so maybe if Esports World Cup like was pushed up to like when champs was, Esports World Cup like the week after Major 4, and then like a week or 2 break and then champs. I don't know. It's just, you don't want to. I feel like the middle of the season where they have that break normally, is like the perfect place to insert it. It's just obviously like Esports World Cup is not only Call of Duty, like we said, so like it has to work out for all the esports, which is unfortunate, because if we could just pick and choose our time in that month in the middle of the season where they have that break, instead of that break, let's just throw the World Cup in there.
That'd be nice.
And it'd be perfect. We always complain about that break, so it would fill in that break and also like make it not at the end of the year, so champs really is the final event. Because I don't know, it just feels like champs should be like the cherry on top of whatever title we're playing, and then we're done.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Kind of sounds like we need more majors, and then if that Esports World Cup keeps happening, we need World Cup, and then after that, the champs.
I mean, I'm down to just have like 8 majors, World Cup, champs. It's perfect to me.
Sounds good to me too, but I don't know how everyone else feels about it.
We're gonna, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. It's a really fun event. I hope they keep doing it, though. I'm not going to complain and be like, oh my God, since it's at the end of the year, I don't want them to have it. It's still a super fun event. I love it. It was really fun to watch, but let's move on to Rostermania, Brock. We have it on the screen. Obviously, all the rosters are full from what they had, at least at the World Cup, for their roster. There's no LAG because they didn't have a roster, and we have no idea what's going on with them. But even, Brock, a big name free agent was announced since we added the people to our list. Adam Assault is a free agent.
Mr. Assault.
Your boy, you're so shocked by that one, I'm sure.
They're very shocked, actually.
So, a couple big pieces of news. The Falcons, the Saudi Arabian organization, are replacing the Vegas Legion as an org, Brock. So throw one up. RIP to the Las Vegas Legion, formerly Paris Legion. Probably the worst org in the CDL. They like literally have never done anything. They put together terrible rosters on minimum contracts and made no content and basically didn't try for their entire existence.
Sounds like the Vegas/Paris Legion.
Yeah. I am intrigued by the Falcons replacing them though, because obviously Falcons were the org that were one of like the amateur teams, and honestly for their players like never getting good practice against like NA teams, they honestly were impressive. Like the clear like lack like or like the slack that they had in their gameplay was like they just didn't have like, you know, as organized setups, as organized teamwork. They definitely had raw skill though. Like
Mm-hmm.
when they were playing like a team like Faze, they didn't look like completely outmatched. Like they were shooting back at them when they were playing Arcitys team. Like they were even outgunning Arcitys team a lot, playing really unorthodox style. Like they definitely had a lot of talent. But I think the reason that the Saudi team coming in, Falcons coming in, is just the amount of money. Like they just got $7 million for winning the World Cup, like overall, for like the most points. Like apparently in CS, they're throwing around millions of dollars for transfers for players. They're paying players like insane amounts more than any other org per month or something in CS. And like, it's just that Saudi money is different. They have so much money to throw around. So
Mm-hmm.
they really, like, unless they want to do like a Heretics thing and they just like want to bring over their Saudi roster from the World Cup, if they want to do that, that obviously changes things. But like, they have a potential to really shake things up because they have probably more money than any other org. So like, with the list of free agents, I mean, I don't know if there's any like the top players out there, but like with guys like Abuza being out there, like Nero, Insight, um, Geo, some of these like better players that have announced they're out there. Like there's a world where like Falcons just come in and throw triple the money at
Mm-hmm.
any of the players, and they're like, we want this player. Or like whenever players become free agents, like there's a world where like Falcons can mess things up and make a super team because like, I mean, let's face it, like as a Call of Duty player, you're with the way the game is, you never know when the league could just die out and when the money could dry out. So kind of like that first year in MW where people weren't even maybe making the best rosters, they were just chasing whatever bag they could get. Like if you're a CDL pro and you get offered triple your salary to go to Falcons, even if the team's a little worse, you might just be like, okay, I got to secure this bag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, why not go for the money? I mean,
Yeah,
if they have a lot of money, they can make a God squad.
yeah, they could make some like insane team. So I'm really excited to see what they can throw around. Scrimmintel also said that he believes it likely won't be the only org change. I mean, I don't know exactly what he meant by this because at this time he hasn't really like tweeted anything else like in relation to it. So I'm assuming he means probably like Boston and LAG because LAG's basically been trying to get out for like forever, what we
Yeah,
know, and like Boston kind of like tweeted about like the org is like basically blowing up. So I'm assuming that we're potentially talking about like Boston
LAG.
and LAG leaving.
Yeah, if anyone else decides to, go different, then it's kind of a shock.
Yeah, I would be surprised. Like obviously Phase Optic, Cloud9 just moved into, they're not moving Ultra. Phase Optic Ultra, I'd be surprised. Cloud9's obviously not going anywhere. Rocker, if they switched, I would assume would be like a rebrand to G2,
Yeah,
something like that. Obviously, like the Legion one's already determined. Heretics, they just came in. I'd be surprised if they left. Thieves, I'd also be surprised. Ravens, I guess, wouldn't really surprise me. Um, and then
yeah,
Vancouver Surge is obviously like since they just switched cities, like I would imagine they're at least staying for the year. So it's honestly really the only potential teams, unless a shocker happens among like the top orgs, would be like Rockers switching to the G2 branding. Um,
hmm
maybe like Ravens or LAT would kind of surprise me, and Heretics, but like I feel like Breach and LAG are the likely candidates there.
yeah. Mm.
Other roster news before we like jump in and start picking apart these rosters, Brock. I mean, like more free agents that were announced today: Accuracy, Slasher, Clayster, TJ, Beans, Fame, Nero, Geo, Insight. So all those guys except Insight are unrestricted free agents. Insight is restricted, which I guess if it's kind of like NBA terms, basically means like if Insight's like basically free to explore his options and like receive offers from other teams, but like Ultra will have the chance to like match that contract or like get compensation for him if he decides to leave. So they kind of like still control him, but he has the freedom to like go look with other teams. So technically, if he's a restricted free agent, like Insight could come back to Ultra. It's not out of the question that he ends up back on Ultra. Like if he doesn't get a better offer, or if Ultra decide they actually do want to keep him for what he's going for, he could end up back on there. But some pretty big name free agents. I mean, already guys like Abuza are assumed to be a free agent. Huke is assumed to be a free agent. And now we add guys like Nero, officially a free agent. Tej, who had a very good year. Clay and Slasher, some staple main ARs. Geo, who was very good this year. I mean, that whole Vegas Legion roster, as of now, we haven't seen attached be announced, but Geo, Nero, like, are announced as free agents. Those are pretty darn good players.
Mm-hmm. Those be some the bottom teams outside the top four need to get on.
Yeah, absolutely. They're gonna have to get on like guys like building your roster around like a Slasher. Needed to grab Tej because like the SMG talent's dry out there, and he's a pretty good one. Nero, obviously. Geo is a very good young AR to build a team around. A lot of good players out there. And then Brock, apparently Ghosty is said to be sticking with 100T. That's obviously not shocking, like from 100T's perspective. Like, yes, obviously you want to keep Ghosty, but I will say, like, I wasn't sure because, you know, last year, LAT, they were talking about how, like, they had to cut, like, they wanted to keep the whole World Championship roster. Obviously, Octane retired and, like, everybody else walked, but they basically said they had, like, budget cuts and, like, they were losing so much money on that team that they had to make a roster change and they went for a cheaper roster. Obviously, originally with, you know, Cammy and Afro on the team instead of Kremp and Nasty. They went for like a cheaper route and, you know, a mid-budget cut. So I was like, you know, maybe there's a world where Dan commands a bigger contract. LA Thieves lets him out of his contract. He gets a bigger contract from somewhere else and they don't want to pay him. So like obviously everybody knows LAT shouldn't get rid of him, but I guess we just didn't know if maybe they would just due to the whole contract situation. So interesting to see Joe like replied to the tweet too and was like, "What about me? What about me?" So I'm assuming that means Joe is probably staying, which is
he better stay.
Yeah, I mean he played awesome this weekend, but that's not shocking to us. Like we
Yeah.
figured if they were keeping the roster, those two were for sure locks, and the other two would be maybe more up in the air. But the other two, Kremp and Nasty, was like they both played very well this weekend. Actually, like Ghosty was the player that was kind of a little bit underperforming, and the funny part was. Parasite was saying on the reverse sweep, I only heard part of this, but I did see that he was saying Ghosty does smoke before matches, like confirmed, and it's illegal there. So he wasn't able to do his normal routine of smoking a little bit before matches to like calm his nerves and stuff. And I thought that was just hilarious and just funny.
Yeah. I mean, whatever works, right?
I mean, normally you'd be like, he's smoking before matches, like what the hell? But I mean, clearly whatever Ghosty was doing this year was working, so he should not be changing that.
Yeah, he had a great year. And as in LA, I'm sure, you know, it's all good.
Yeah. Just very very, very interesting.
He can do his pregame routine.
Yeah. Yeah, Brock, I see the Cobra is joining Rocker tweet. Just came out as we were recording this too. It's very interesting. It seems very weird to like be committing to a team with how many like moving pieces there are. But also, if you're Cobra, I feel like he does have options, but he's definitely not getting on a top team right away. But Cobra, Linz, I think they have played together. That's a interesting move. Cobra obviously displayed that he has some real talent. Maybe Rocker target a Booza. That'd be really nice. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but
that'd be real nice.
Yeah. So an insane list. A lot of like really good players being dropped. Some players like I expected Tej to probably stick with Ravens, depending on the options that were out there. I honestly expected Beans to potentially stick with Ravens because he was shooting this weekend.
I don't really know why they would
just keep dropping. Like I don't understand dropping either of them, to be honest. Like I feel like the Ravens path was really clear, was it not? I feel like it was fellow, you're a solid player, but we want to go for higher upside.
Yep.
And they pick up like the best possible flex. Like to me, like Geo would have been like a perfect move. Like Beans, Geo, Gwyn, Tej. Communication on that team might be an absolute nightmare. But like at least you're just like stacking talent and hoping. Like in the bottom four, stack talent, hope they can develop the communication and teamwork, because like you at some point just need to stack talent so you can even compete with that top four.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, if they're not gonna have T-Joe or Beans, they kind of need to go for like Nero in a way.
I mean, they have to go. You have to go for like Nero, I believe, but like I just don't see a world where this team gets Nero, because to be honest, with as of this point, like there could be more free agents. Like there's a world where like Kismet, Envoy, or Kleenex, like or all of them or none of them. There's a world where like some of those three between Envoy, Kleenex, and Kismet, because like apparently there are rumors that Insight is not the only Ultra player who's going to be announced as a restricted free agent. I would assume that means, I mean, since they have Scrap, I would assume they're not letting Scrap go.
Yeah.
That means one of the SMGs, if not both, will probably be out there. So like, there's probably going to be some SMGs that hit the market that, like, if Kismet, Kleenex, or Envoy hit the market, unless somebody else crazy hits the market, because we're assuming obviously neither of the Tiny Terrors and neither of the Optic Subduo are hitting the market. Hydra's not hitting the market. So then after that, like Nero at this point is probably the top sub on the market. But if like Envoy, Kleenex, or Kismet hit the market, they're probably instantly number one. But like, I can't imagine a world where Nero goes to Ravens being the number one sub on the market, unless he really believes like Gwyn is the best sub that he can team with of the like available teams.
Yeah.
Just because like Nero seems like he's gonna have his pick of the litter, because I believe he probably won't get on a top team. I just don't know if the top teams are gonna drop a sub, because like I don't think there's any subs that are available that can make the top four. That would be an upgrade. But let's stop talking about that. And let's actually get into it.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that while we're doing this. So Faze is the top team that we have here on the list, and honestly, they're probably the top because they're not making a change. The only thing, like we said, the out of game stuff is a little bit weird with Draza and like the outside relationships and stuff that are involved. That's like the only way that this could get a little bit weird, but we're gonna go ahead and say Faze are gonna stick. I'm gonna assume, Brock, unless you disagree, Faze, Optic, we're gonna say they're both gonna stick.
I would fully agree.
So there we go. And then our next one would be Cloud9 or New York Subliners. Now this one I believe is the first one where it gets interesting in the top four. I would say for sure Hydra and Sib are safe. Would you agree?
Yes.
So Hydra and Sib are safe. And like I said, we're just doing like our predictions for what we think is going to happen with the roster. Like this is not like, we may say like what we believe they should do, but this is just our predictions of what we think may happen with the roster. We're not going to fill in actual players because I don't know, it just gets so messy. Like as more rosters get solidified, I want to just more talk about them. Just filling in with all the players gets so messy because like obviously 6 teams, like every team that doesn't have a man AR should be targeting a Booza. Because I believe he only had a 1-year deal or something. So once he hits the market, like every team should obviously be targeting a Booza that needs a main AR. But we'll just talk about like where we think people or who they should potentially target. So, Brock, do you think Cloud9 makes a roster change? See, this is why the World Cup's so interesting. Because I would say after champs, no, they're probably going to stick together. But now after getting a top 8, losing to Optic again, and looking like, you know, they just couldn't beat this Optic team this year, maybe they make a change. I just think it's tough because main AR wise, there are potential options that they could replace Skies with. I mean, like Insight would obviously be an option to like maybe flip Insight, and then maybe Skies would flip to Ultra.
Yeah.
That would be an option. I guess maybe like a guy like Slasher, maybe in a Booza if he's available. But like Kismet wise, I don't think like unless like Envoy or Kleenex becomes available, I don't think there's any upgrade. Like I would rather have, just for this specific team, I'd just take Kismet over Nero. I'd take Kismet over Tej, who are like the other top subs out on the market. So unless Envoy or Kleenex hit the market, I'm gonna say we probably keep Kiz, and it comes down to Skies. And Skies is such a good relationship with these players that I don't know if they're gonna make a change.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't get someone like Insight, I mean, even is Insight that much better than Skies?
I know, and it's like with the relationships, like I think Skies and Hydra are like basically best friends. Yeah. It seems like Skies is very good friends. Like this roster seems like they're very tight knit. Like I feel like this roster is very close.
Unless, like you said, Ultra make a move. I doubt Optic and Faze are making a move. Unless like Kleenex or to an extent Envoy maybe, but I would probably just maybe run it back.
I honestly, I was thinking like maybe I'll say that they would replace Skies, but I honestly think they're going to run it back. I think they're going to run it back with the same roster. I think the world where it gets interesting is maybe the team isn't as close as we believe, and Skies does get moved for like an Abuza or an Insight. If they are going to replace Skies, now that we know that Ghosty is sticking with Thieves, I would have said Ghosty would have been a player I would target, and I would put him in the team. I would take Ghosty over Skies.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Insight would make sense if they were targeting because like I don't know that it's like much of an upgrade, but like at least Insight is a very steady top main AR who's been on a top team for a long time, so that would at least make some sense. And then Abuza, just if you're trying to talent stack.
Yep.
I think Skies maybe brings more of what this team needs because I don't really think they need that much more slaying. But I don't know. I'm gonna say they're gonna stick, but the world where this gets weird is if Envoy or Kleenex become free agents. Then I think, like if Kleenex becomes a free agent, just the intrigue or Envoy of like, because Envoy could potentially be viewed as like the Kismet role, but even a little bit better.
Yep.
Although he did have some struggles this year, so I don't know. Like I'm gonna say this team's gonna stick unless you disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I say they stick because I don't really Envoy Kismet. I'd probably still pick Kismet at the end of the day.
But I will say I do significantly think like this one is way like there's no world where Faze and Optic change. This one is like actually like there is a possibility. I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be shocked if Hydra or Sib were gone. But like guys in Kismet, there's a world where depending on the way things shake out on other teams, there's a world where these two like could potentially be on other teams. I think at least one of them will be there though. I don't think both will be gone.
Yeah.
Rock, then we can get to Ultra. We have to make our first move. Insight is a restricted free agent, so he technically could come back, but for fun, we're gonna say he's out of there. He's not on the team anymore. I'm gonna have to add a row below just to throw these guys in there. You're really not gonna be able to see it, but I'm just throwing the players that aren't gonna be in there. In there. So Insight is off the Toronto Ultra. Do you think any other changes come through? Like I'm assuming they're gonna keep Scrap. Just based on what everybody's saying, like it seems like a lot of Intel people believe at least one of their players is going to be announced as a free agent on this team. My guess is Envoy. I don't know. What do you think?
Something in my head is telling me Kleenex, but I don't think because Insight is potentially leaving, and Insight and Kleenex are like since day one basically.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
And Kleenex is like he's good, but like he has those inconsistencies at times, and then kind of has some bad maps here and there when they need him to actually pop off.
See, I agree. I think there are in the CDL. I think there are upgrades, but like to me, like when I look at it, it's just like there's no way that they're going to get somebody that's available that's better than Kleenex. Like there are no upgrades to Kleenex available.
Yeah,
because I mean, like let's look at the league. Who are the upgrades to Kleenex? Simpa, BZ, shottzyy, Pred, Hydra.
Yeah,
those 5 and. None of them are available unless some miraculous reason Cloud9 lets Hydra out of his contract. But like shottzyy and Pred aren't going anywhere. They're not leaving Optic, and Simpa and BZ aren't leaving Faze. So like to me, there's no upgrade over Kleenex available. So why would you get rid of Kleenex? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. My only thing is be like they want to. He's been on that team for so long. They want to just have someone new, but that doesn't really make too much sense.
No, it would be a terrible move for them. And it's kind of the same way I look at the Envoy thing. I'm like, is there a clear upgrade over Envoy? Like once again, are there clear upgrades over Envoy in the entire CDL? Yes, obviously. But we're talking for available players. Like, I don't know, like the top subs available are like what, like Nero, Estriel, Tej. Like I don't
Huke, maybe.
Huke, but I don't see those guys, any of them as an upgrade over Envoy.
Yeah, no.
So like for me, what will they do? Apparently they might drop, but like what should they do? This team should be sticking with this core. And honestly, I mean, I think they should maybe just stick. But I guess if they are set on dropping Insight, I would have said Ghosty would be like the guy, but it sounds like he's staying with LAT, so that's off the table. To me, once again, it's probably going to be like beating a dead horse here, but it's Abuza. Like Abuza is the top main AR.
Yep.
Me, another guy, I guess, if he's actually getting dropped, Attach isn't like the worst guy to look at to me.
Yeah.
I feel like Attach brings a lot of what Insight does, that IGL, that in-game leadership, veteran presence. He's still a shooter. I honestly think Attach brings more consistent slaying than Insight.
Even like another one like Slasher to an extent.
Yeah, I just don't know. I
It's
just don't
kind
know
of
how they
weird.
view Slasher. I definitely see where you're coming from. I think Slasher would be a good pickup. I just don't know how they view him. I don't know. I don't know that him and Scrap would mesh that well.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not a bad shout at all though. That's a good shout. I like that one. I don't know. I feel like this will be a team of three or should be a team of three. And then you look at guys like Abuza. I don't think Slasher's a bad shout. I actually think Attach is a pretty good shout.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of Attach's team is dropped. So I'm assuming he's getting dropped. Or if he's not, he is a lucky man because that probably means Falcons is paying him the bag.
It would be a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Who knows? In the end, they could just stick together. Top four could just stick together for the most part.
and I didn't think of that one, but I actually love Attach on that roster.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Brock, we have the rocker. So we obviously know that accuracy is officially off the team.
Sad.
Would you agree? I think it's safe to say I believe they should and will bring Diamondcon off the team as well.
Yep.
And I honestly think, I don't know, is Estriel even under contract? I think he's technically going to be a free agent. I don't think he's actually like officially signed for this. So I'm going to say Estriel's probably off the team too.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think they're building around Lins probably. Would you agree?
Yes, I agree.
And then obviously the rumor is that Cobra is there. So that, I mean, Cobra being there pretty much confirms, since we already know accuracy, that basically confirms Diamondcon's gone because Cobra is an AR.
Mm-hmm.
So that basically confirms that Diamondcon will be gone. So they're looking for another AR and another sub.
This is so Abuza, isn't it?
If Abuza is a free agent, it seems like, yeah, it is, because like, what are his other options? To me, his other options, like, if this team has Cobra and Lins on rocker, Abuza obviously has for sure played with Lins. I think he played with Cobra as well, or like this would be a comfort zone thing for him. They were extremely successful in challengers together, him and Lins. I guess I think this makes sense for Abuza to go here. I mean, if you're rocker and you already have Cobra and Lins, like, I'm doing everything I possibly can to get Abuza. I mean, what are the other teams that make sense? Like, I guess if he believes Gwyn is really good, which he was talking a lot of trash to Gwyn this weekend, so who knows if he believes that, but like pairing up with Gwyn on Ravens might not be a bad move. If Thieves are willing to move on from Nasty, I feel like going with Joe and Ghosty would be a really good move for Abuza.
Yeah.
Pairing up with those two. Obviously, like Heretics, Breach, that Falcons team. Maybe starting your own team on Falcons and getting the bag.
Maybe, but
I feel like, yeah, Rocker seems the most likely, unless, I mean, obviously if Ultra offer him, that certainly should be the team he goes to play with Scrap, Kleenex, and Envoy. That certainly should be the team.
he's definitely a hot commodity. And
But I guess for the purpose of this exercise, we think probably Rocker are just building around Lins. The rest of the roster is going to get blown up, and sounds like they're adding Cobra, and I would love to see them go all out. If they get Cobra, Lins, Abuza, and add another sub, if maybe this is a team that adds like a Tej, or I mean, shoot, go all out, add Nero to this team, because we saw Lins play with Vivid, another extremely aggressive player, and that's when Lins seemed to be thriving. So I would like this team to pick up Nero. That's what I would like this roster to be. Get Cobra and Abuza, and then get Nero to go with Lins. I would actually, honestly, with LAT, they would probably be like my 5th/6th team if they had Abuza, Cobra, Lins, and Nero. I would like this team as like a top 6 team.
yeah. I mean, it's not a bad roster for what Minnesota has been with the had.
Yeah. So I mean, I like it, but we'll say for the purpose of this exercise, who's going to be on the team and who they're building around. It's just going to be Lins left, I believe.
Yep.
And for Boston Breach, this one's weird again because like org change should be coming. I'm gonna assume they'll probably let Purge walk. Do you agree there?
Yep.
Probably let Purge walk, be a free agent. I'm honestly gonna say they'll let Cammy walk. I don't think they should, but I'm gonna say they're gonna keep Snoopy because this org is obsessed with Snoopy. Once again,
they love
it's
him.
weird. Like, they're supposed to be out, but then like they like were tweeting and like they weren't out. So I don't know. Like, it seems like they love Snoopy. I guess, Brock, since we're doing this of what we think is gonna happen, I'm gonna say I think they're gonna keep Snoopy. I honestly think they'll let Wake walk. Maybe they'll bring him back, but I think they'll let him walk at first, at least, and they'll just basically be building around Snoopy. If you agree with that.
Yes.
So Breach just have Snoopy left. I don't agree with it, but I think that's what they're going to do. So that's what we'll put here. I do think there's a world where, because I mean, Wake did finally look like, the old Wake. at times this weekend he was popping off. He had like a 40-17 map that he got mega costed on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a world where they keep Wake, especially depending on how like the budget for this team is. Since this breach team didn't perform bad, like if it's a team that has like an extremely tight budget, I could see them just rolling back the same roster since they look decent.
Yeah.
Like if it's a tight budget, I don't think they should, but I could see it happening. But apparently they might be getting bought out by another org, so who knows what happens and how much money that org's willing to spend.
Mm-hmm. So far, what we know now is Snoopy.
Yeah, and I mean for the Legion, we already know Fame, Nero, and Geo are gone, so
Yep.
we can take them off. That leaves just Attach on the roster to build around. I would say I think they honestly are probably going to keep Attach, and I don't think it's a bad thing to keep him and build around. I really think around Attach, who should they target? I don't know. It's a weird because Attach does play more of a main. I just think anybody should target Abuza. Maybe Attach can play more of a flex. We know he could because I mean he played an SMG a lot. I don't know. I don't hate targeting like Abuza or Beans to pair with him. I don't hate like finding like Tej. I don't hate getting a guy like huke to play with him. I would like Nero back in this roster. I still don't know why he's a free agent unless he was just unrestricted off the rip. I have no idea why you let go of Nero, but I bet you this team, from what I think, is probably just gonna be Attach, right?
Yeah. I don't mean hate, like, even though he hasn't had the best year. Priesta.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Priesta with that, like, I don't know. I feel like Priesta is gonna have a hard time getting a team this year. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, he kind of had a bad year.
Maybe like because like Breach aren't bringing him back. I don't know. Maybe the Ravens get him to play an AR along with Gwyn. Maybe like a team that like loses all their players just like picks him up. Maybe I don't know. I just don't know where he goes.
Yeah, it's the right situation for him.
Yeah. And Brock, now we go to Heretics. This is an interesting one because I'm assuming they're probably gonna stick with the Spanish theme.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they make any changes. I mean, like that Super and Rencor guy, like both of them have been like around as like top Spanish challenger players forever. So maybe there's a world where they like pick up two of them. I honestly don't even like remember what exact roles they play, but I will say that the Heretics will probably just like run back their roster. But Super and Rencor, or if there's any like Spanish challenger players we don't know about, like obviously any of them could be inserted into this team at any time. That obviously like wouldn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, like you said, Spanish theme, stick around, and maybe get Super and Rencor. And go from there.
Brock, what do you think about LAT? So I would
LAT.
assume now that we heard, I thought there was a world where Ghosty left if he was able to just get a lot bigger salary, and LA Thieves did like let him go. But it sounds like he's staying. I would hope Joe's staying. He's been unreal. Nasty and Kremp really increased their chances of being on the team this weekend. Pretty much this entire time, I thought like it's going to be Joe and Ghosty looking for two.
Mm-hmm.
Now after this weekend, like if they would have ended up pulling off that finals, which they had a really realistic chance to do, like there was like a real world where like Nasty was MVP of the Esports World Cup. Like he was that good this weekend and in finals. Like even Joe potentially, Kremp had some amazing moments. Like Kremp was going crazy in some of the S&Ds. Like those three were like popping off at different times. So I don't know. Like I say Joe and Ghosty for sure. Do you think that they like, I don't know, LAT like the continuity now after that first year when they made like a million changes? They do enjoy the continuity now. Do you think they just keep those two and just keep the roster? Do you think they like maybe look to pick up an SMG? Just like obviously we have to keep available SMGs in mind. To me, I think there's one person.
I say Nero.
I think Nero for Kremp wouldn't be a bad pickup, but also like I don't hate this team just going with continuity since they continue to get so much better and they are the youngest team.
Yeah.
I will say I think the wrench in all this could be if Envoy does get announced as a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously loved playing for LAT. I think there is a world where if Toronto do decide to move on from Envoy, I think there's a world where they just make a one-out swap. They take out Kremp, put in Envoy, see him as a clear upgrade, and maybe they go from there. I would say, though, since we don't know what's going to happen with Envoy, I'd say right now I think the roster probably sticks.
Yeah, probably sticks for now. I don't mean hit like Beans on this roster for Nasty in a way, but Nasty played a lot.
I don't hate it either, but I don't know, Nasty and like this team just has such good chemistry that like unless it's like a clear upgrade or like a person, like if Draza, like if obviously if the World Cup wouldn't have gone that way and Draza may have gotten dropped, just chemistry things and all that, like after just champs, when there was a world where that happened, like if it was like a fan favorite or like a org legend coming back, like an Envoy or a Draza, there I could see them dropping them. But like I don't know, I don't know that there's any like super clear upgrades out there that like justify making a change for how good this team's chemistry was down the stretch. Like there are upgrades to Crep. Like I believe Nero is a better player, but I just don't know that Faze will view him as that much of a better player over Kremp because they love him. And like I think Geo has more raw talent than a guy like Nasty, but I just don't know if like they'll view that as enough of an upgrade. And I guess Ghosty could play like a flex, so maybe you view Insight as like an upgrade. You can like add Insight to this team with Ghosty. I don't know. I'm gonna guess that they're gonna stick, but I'm open to your thoughts if you would think they want to make a change.
Yeah, probably stick for now and see what else falls, who else becomes free agents and stuff. And there still is formal. He might come back still.
Yeah, he could mess things up.
Yeah.
He would also be a good player to insert on a lot of these teams. Ultra, oh my god, insert formal onto Ultra. That would be like the best thing ever.
Yeah, literally, almost any team can benefit from having formal. I'm sure we both know he's still very good.
Yeah, he would have no issue coming back. Then the Ravens, Brock. Obviously, we know for some reason they dropped Tej. Fellow also gone. Beans also gone. So just left in the team right now is Gwyn. I do think that's a big mistake. I think they should have kept Tej. I think the only potential upgrade over Tej out there would be like a Nero.
He's pretty good this year.
Yeah. For me, Brock, this team should absolutely, once again, it's like a broken record, but Abuza needs to be your top target because an Abuza Gwyn duo, the number 1 and 2 rookie of the year, or I guess not even, I guess Estrio probably did finish ahead of Abuza, I think, but your top 2 rookies in my eyes, Gwyn and Abuza, add them, pair them on the team, get Nero to pair with him, and then, I don't know, just maybe go for a talent stack roster, like Abuza, Geo, Gwyn, and Nero, just terrible comms, but just talent stack. I don't know. But I believe, yeah, this team's only going to be just building around Gwyn.
Yep. Literally just grab 2 players from the Vegas that are no longer there. And
also,
go from
another
there.
guy that we should probably shout out, like a guy like Vivid can go on a lot of these rosters because he's a very good SMG talent. Wisconsin's own, very good SMG talent. And just, I mean, I don't know. I think he could fit in a lot of these teams, and I think he's better than some of the SMGs still in the league today that were starting. And he brings a lot of aggression. He can play a unique role on the team. I like Vivid a lot. We will always shout out Vivid.
Yep. I don't hate Slash either.
That's a good shout out. Slasher, get him on this team. Get like I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I like that a lot actually, because I honestly don't think there's a world where Abuza does play with this team. I think he does end up on a rocker. So, or LAT if they decide to go that route. Like that's the other player I forgot to mention for LAT. I think if Abuza is available to you, you drop Nasty for him. Because I think an Abuza Ghosty duo could tear things up.
That'd be a good duo.
Or like, I think there's a world like if you can get like Abuza Nero on that team, I do think you drop Nasty and Cramp. I should say. I think Abuza Ghosty Nero Joe is a really good team.
Yep.
Anyways, for Ravens, I don't think they're getting Abuza. I like the Slasher shout. I think like Slasher and then pair him with a super high upside AR. I like Geo.
Yep.
I like Geo for that team, like a super high slaying upside AR that maybe needs a little guidance. And then this team is another team that should be absolutely targeting Nero. You know who else would be great in this team? Tej. For some reason, they dropped him. This team should have just kept Tej, but I guess in this case, if they don't want Tej, they maybe target Nero. I guess Huke isn't a bad shout out for this team.
I guess
likely to be a free agent. But Huke Slasher we've seen like a million times. It doesn't work too often since like AW.
Only worked, after AW like once in Vanguard.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't hate like a roster of like Slasher, Geo, Huke, Gwyn. I don't hate that. Then that brings us to Surge, Brock, which sounds like Huke is going to be a free agent, even though it isn't officially announced. So we'll take him off the team. I'm going to guess Brezzy is also going to be removed since they probably won't have Abuza, because I think that they absolutely should keep Abuza. But personally, I think Abuza is leaving, so I think we should take him off, and I think we should leave them with just 04.
Yep.
And they absolutely should keep 04. They should do everything they can, honestly, to keep Huke and Abuza, because like once again, I think there are certainly upgrades to Huke in the league. I just don't know that there are many upgrades over Huke that are available to them.
Yeah.
To me, I think this team should be keeping Abuza, 04, and Huke and looking for a new flex to add to the roster.
If that's not the case, though, if the 04 is the only one left, I would mean go for a Tej. Just get that search and destroy right up there.
Yeah, get Tej and add a couple ARs. Obviously, you would love to see this team. Once again, this is not what we think they should do. This is what we think they will do, like who they will have in their team, and then they'll add other players. I absolutely think, obviously, there's no world where you let Abuza walk. If he wants to stay, Abuza should be on the roster, no doubt. He should have the keys to the org.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to pick one player from this team to keep, I would assume it's not Brezzy or Huke. Are you keeping Abuza or 04? The answer to me is pretty easily Abuza.
It's definitely Abuza after he got his role switched to his main AR.
And don't get me wrong, 04 is a very good player.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely a good SMG. Especially in a league that lacks some SMG talent outside the top 4. 04 is one of the better SMGs outside the top 4. But I mean, Abuza is like a potential superstar level player. I think 04 is a really good player and can be a player you can win with. I don't think he's ever superstar level though.
Yeah.
Abuza can hit that level.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right, Brock. So that means based on what we think is going to happen, that means we think Faze, Optic, and C9 sticking, as well as Heretics. But that's kind of an asterisk because, like we said, we believe maybe they bring in a couple challenger players from Spain or Spanish challenger players, but we don't know them as well. And then LAT, we also said we're sticking, but that one also is kind of an asterisk because I do think it's just so hard. It's up in the air. I think they could switch out Nero and Ghosty, or not Ghosty, Kremp and Nasty, but it is a little bit of a gray area just because of the fact that like the World Cup really changed. Our thoughts on that, considering they got a second, I feel like there's a more of a chance they stick than pre-World Cup.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Low key, I kind of hope like one of these top 4 teams make a huge deal and drop someone good and shake up the whole landscape. It'd be kind of cool to see.
It kind of happened already with Insight.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably the least sexy pick of like all the players possible because he's an extremely good player, don't get me wrong, but like his game is obviously just like not that exciting in comparison to like obviously if anybody on Faze was dropped. That's why like I'm kind of sad, I'm not gonna lie, in a really cynical and messed up way. I'm kind of sad that Faze won and looked as good as they did at World Cup. Like I kind of wish they would have like gotten top 8 and like bottomed out, because then they probably would have made a roster change and it would have made the league a lot more interesting. Like now we're gonna see the same Phase 4 next year. They're gonna be top 2 at. They might have one event where it's absolutely insane and they don't make a final. And it's like, okay, wow, Faze got a 3rd. What's wrong with them? We have to like act like we're really concerned about Faze getting a top 3.
Yep.
Optic sticking the same. That's like nothing fun there. I think where it could get fun, like you said, if Ultra do make another change, or like they drop the whole team except Scrap and Scrap's unhappy and stuck there, and like Cloud9 then like drops Kismet and Skies to like make changes, and like New York and Ultra like swap players around their stars, could be like interesting. Like we have Rocker, Breach, Vegas / Falcons, Ravens, and Surge all just keeping one player. So there is a lot of shifting to happen. And I do believe that there's a world where Cloud9 and Ultra make additional changes. Like I think Cloud9 could be a team of 2 with Hydra and Sib, because you also have to remember like this New York management may have a lot of loyalty to this roster, but like a lot of that management might be on their way out with Cloud9 acquiring them, so they may not have that same level of loyalty, and they may like not be loyal to Kismet and Skies. They may want to get rid of them. Honestly, in a cynical way, I kind of hope they do, so we can see crazy roster changes. But I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. I'm very excited to see how things shake out. And I mean, I'm sure after we upload this, like at least 6 more things are going to come out that we didn't see.
Yeah. Just, very excited to see how this all plays out within the next few days.
Yeah, it's Rostermania is fun. Honestly, I didn't expect us to be talking about that in this episode. Like, kind of waking up in the morning, getting everything all set for what we were gonna do, and like being at work, I was kind of expecting. I was kind of expecting it to just be like, we'll talk World Cup and we'll mostly go into that, and maybe talk about like a couple little roster rumors we hear or something. And all of a sudden, it was like, one free agent got announced, and just like a boatload of them just started just coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, once that one for like an hour straight, the next however many are out now.
Yeah, and it just got insane. It was like announcement after announcement after announcement.
Yep.
It kind of, thankfully, when we started recording, it seems like looking at Twitter now, it seems like
It kind of died down.
Kind of died down, which is nice for us. It's not like we missed like a million things. But now I say that we're gonna stop recording, and like 10 different people are gonna be moved in and out. Like really, the only thing that's come out since we were recording is like the ghosty sticking thing, and then like Cobra joining Rocker.
Yeah. I mean, I did see old Johnny as a free agent, but I think we all knew that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm very, 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 very excited for Rostermania though. There are a lot more good players hitting the market. I mean, guys like Insight, Tej, Huke and Abuza potentially being on the market, Geo, Nero, Beans, even if guys like Estriel are on the market. There are a lot of players that are really good that we didn't think were hitting the market, and there could be guys from New York and Ultra coming. So I'm very excited for Rostermania.
Same here.
Got anything else before we wrap this one up?
No, just shout out Faze for winning the Esports World Cup, and excited to see what other moves are gonna happen throughout the CDL.
And that's a wrap on the MW3 season for us, Brock.
Time kind of flew this year.
Yeah, another season in the books, so it's sad hours for us here. We've got the rest of August, we've got September, pretty much most of October until the game drops in October, and even then we probably won't see matches until at least December. So got like 3 months of the off-season content time. It's kind of where just like viewership and all that for content kind of dies down. And the saddest part is where we can usually farm some interactions and talk to you guys and gain new community members is when Optic makes a change. And unfortunately for us, Brock, I don't think there's going to be a ton of Optic roster drama this offseason like we have seen for the past few seasons.
Yes, unfortunately they won champs, so
yeah.
Mistake.
So it's unfortunate there's not all this Optic drama and Optic roster rumors, because those are what people are most interested in. But still a lot of shaking up to do. We'll still be releasing a weekly episode. Hopefully there may be a time if it's really dead in the off season where we don't come out with a weekly episode, but we're still going to at least try to do a weekly episode. We might do some fun stuff like last year we did that football episode, like a football preview, and it didn't get a ton of traction or anything because obviously like a lot of our listeners are not as interested in football. But like I may hit up Kyle here, and might have to be soon too, because I mean football starts in 3 weeks.
That's right.
Like 3 weeks from now are like the first set of games, or even like 2.5, 3 weeks from now are the first set of games. So maybe we'll hit up Kyle and do like a football preview episode again where we just, talk football, and it's just a completely different thing, and just do some fun episodes like that. But yeah, it's off season time. Another year in the books. Brock, a very successful one, crossed 1,000 subs this year, and we're approaching 1,400, and keeping pushing. We do have some other fun collab things for this off season that will happen. So it's fun. Hopefully before we know it, the new season's here and we're back to, just being in the thick of a season. Because in the middle of the season, things just come to talk about. It's fun. You have matches to watch, and it's just so much easier to create the content in season. Because there's only so much stuff that happens in the off season. Once Rostermania dies down, it is a dry spell. It's like a new perk was announced for Black Ops 6, and like we'll spend 20 minutes talking about that just for some content.
I can't wait for Black Ops 6, just all the movement you can be doing. I can't wait for the beta to come out.
It has, that's like a week or two away too, so obviously we'll be talking about the beta in a few weeks, but it has potential to be an incredible year next year. So if you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. This has been the MW3 season. It's over. Hopefully lots of Rostermania to come so we can talk about that. We'll see you guys again next week with another episode, but we just want to thank you all again for all the support through MW3. It was a fantastic year. We really enjoyed bringing the content to you and all the engagement. Big things coming next year, a lot of stuff coming, hopefully in the offseason, getting ourselves prepared and making improvements to the show and everything in the offseason. So stay tuned for what's coming. We appreciate all the support, and we will see you guys in the next one.